When you look around social media circles in the younger ages in America, and not just in America, in the Western world as a whole, particularly among young males, aged roughly 25, 12 to 25 roughly, you are seeing an ideology take hold of many young men that really is having effects on the culture like we've never seen. I am, of course, referring to the red pill, or not really in the ideal way, but more so the Andrew Tate type red pill, the Manosphere, as it's more commonly known as. The men going their own way types, the gym bros, these types of people. This ideology has been going around youth youth male circles for quite a long time now, and in particular young males who are dissatisfied with the system, who are looking for an alternative to give them purpose. Now, I do want to clarify, this video is not an attack on working out or trying to be more masculine. I think, going to the gym is inherently a good thing. I choose not to do it because it's just not my crowd of people in there. I just don't particularly like gym bros as people. I think a lot of them are just. I'll get into it later, but just as a side note, this is not an attack on lifting weights. This is not an attack on running on the treadmill. Like, you should be working out or at least trying to get into better shape because it's healthy for you, can extend your life, whatever. That's basic science. But let's get back to the video. This ideology has infiltrated young men, and more now you're seeing young men, particularly teenagers in middle school and high school, spouting this red pill logic, as if it's fact. And realistically, this red pill manosphere ideology is actually, in a lot of ways, a right-wing version of feminism. When you think of feminism, you think of screeching fat women in their 20s and 30s who have pink hair and nose piercings and have 8 million cats living in their apartment. They have no man, and all they did was sleep around in their college days before letting Dairy Queen and Burger King consume their diet and gaining 50 pounds. Feminism is a toxic ideology that seeks to undermine the rights and privileges of men in society in favor of women, to establish a matriarchy. The ideology abuses the emotional side of women and abuses their, it abuses their emotional side. And what it ends up doing is creating a gender divide. And realistically, we are seeing an increased, politics are slowly no longer being, race-based, as contrary to what many on 4chan, would have you believe. These, politics are slowly becoming gender-based, as we're seeing consistently time and time again. Males of all races, black, Asian, Hispanic, white, you name it, in America are trending towards the Republican Party or the center, the right of center party, while women of all demographics except for Asian and Hispanic are trending to the left. We are seeing this on a broad scale. Politics are becoming increasingly gender divided. Now, why does all of this matter to the manosphere? Well, I'll tell you. I'm comparing it to feminism because feminism seeks to undermine men, and it seeks to establish a matriarchy, and it seeks to essentially strip men of their dignity and strip men of their authority. While the manosphere is the complete opposite. Let me explain. Many men who are in the manosphere are the types of people who go around insulting women for seemingly no good reason. If they get rejected, they often spout rhetoric that is very similar to that of rhetoric that has been used in mass shooting doctrines, especially the El Paso shooter, who said millions must die. I actually think he said billions must die. A lot of this red pill logic has been used in the manifestos of mass shooters who are oftentimes lonely young teenage men who haven't had a successful romantic life, whether that's due to them not being conventionally attractive or just not having good social skills and maybe having a little bit of autism thrown in there. They struggle. And as a result, they get angry and start lashing out at the world in the worst way possible. Red pill logic has made men toxic just as left wing feminism has made women toxic. It seems like no matter where you go nowadays, you can no longer take a position in the middle and want lawful equality between sexes while having social differences. Because apparently that makes you a weak beta male or a cuck or whatever. Again, I am not inherently going after all people in the Manosphere. Again, people like Dr. Jordan Peterson out of Canada, I think are very good in that sense, in the way that he encourages men to work out and be productive, while also making sure to kind of keep a relatively moderate line between, social differences and legal inequality. Now, the Manosphere ideology, the idea behind it is that men have been screwed over for a generation and a half, which is partially true. It is true by feminism. And as a result, it seeks to liberate men from a matriarchy. The problem with this thinking is that these people often are just insufferable. I mean, when you think of somebody who's in the Manosphere, you think of Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is the man who really kicked off, this ideology, this new wave of red pill manosphere. Now, it was originally Dr. Jordan Peterson back in the mid 2010s who kind of, started it, and then Andrew Tate brought this new. I'm gonna say it's a toxic wave because Andrew Tate. I hold a minority opinion in right-wing American politics and in right-wing politics globally right now that Andrew Tate is an insufferable pile of shit. I'm sorry, but Andrew Tate is not this alpha male great guy like you think he is. Andrew Tate he has a sketchy past. Andrew Tate does not fit the mold especially in America, that the right needs to be. The right in America is transforming into the party of the working class. The right in America is transforming into the party of factory workers in Detroit, Michigan, who were laid off from the Ford factory. The party of steel workers in Pennsylvania. That is what the Republican Party and the right wing in America is becoming. Not the party of restricting women to not be able to drive or have any liberties whatsoever. Do you really think that's going to win us any votes? Andrew Tate is also insufferable in the fact that his rhetoric isn't even this based right-wing traditional rhetoric like you think it is. Now, I'm not entirely saying Andrew Tate is wrong. Tate has a lot of good points that he brings up in some of his videos and some of his video clips. Tate does bring up the fact that Tate's diagnosis of problems in the Western world are about 90 to 95% correct. He is very correct about his diagnoses of the problems in our society and why the culture has fallen. For example, infidelity is on the rise in Western culture. Many women, in particular, view cheating as okay. More so than men. Before it was men who viewed cheating as okay. Now, the roles seem to have flip-flopped. He is right about men being weaker with less testosterone. He's right about a lot of things in terms of what is wrong with the culture. However, his solutions are where things get a little bit fuzzy. Andrew Tate's solution to all of this would not be to try to be a conservative traditional man and find a traditional wife and have a lot of children, as is the Christian way. No. This man is a Muslim, and what do you expect from a Muslim who thinks he's so great? And thinks that he's just this alpha male who can do whatever he wants, this Sigma? Well, guess what? His ideology promotes men basically being man whores. He is literally a right-wing male version of feminism. Masculinism is what I'll call it. Which, not all of it is inherently a bad thing. Men are below women in the legal system. However, Tate's solutions are unhealthy to men as they teach men to just sleep around with as much women as possible and to really just be a bad person. And we see this with a lot of his followers. A lot of Andrew Tate's followers are not people I particularly care for. And it's really a broader view of people in the Manosphere. A lot of gym bros will say. I do not like a lot of gym bros, and I will explain why. A lot of gym bros, especially in the past couple of years, have begun wearing cross necklaces because they think it's, oh, so based. Christ is king. Which, yes, Christ is king. However, a lot of these people probably don't actually read the Bible. A lot of these people are some of the biggest sinners you'll ever see. And a lot of these people are infidels. A lot of these people are sexual degenerates. They are not following the gospel. And despite what their cross chain may try to give off, I am 99.9% sure these insufferable pricks are only doing it for the sake of the glamour. These gym bros are only doing it. They're not working out because they want to better themselves. And that doesn't go for all of them. I'm sure there are a lot who are doing it because they genuinely just want to be healthier and they want to be strong, which I can respect that. However, a lot of them are doing it for the glamour and for the social media clicks of pictures of them with their shirt off and big muscles and, yeah, look at me, I'm so macho. That is kind of the reigning ideology that is prevalent among a lot of these gym influencers on the male side and in the manosphere as a whole. They're only doing it for the glamour. They're not doing it to actually better themselves. A lot of them are just doing it for the aesthetic. They want to put on this image that they're this based gym bro who hates feminism, when in reality, they're no better than the weird schizo people on 4chan. Is it really that hard to ask for a right wing that isn't insufferable and just pushes forward good policy that'll help all Americans, regardless of race or gender? I touched upon this in my last video. And the reason the right has gotten this way is not inherently the right's fault. The right is a reactionary force. Whatever the left is doing to advance a progressive agenda, the right reacts by moving in the total opposite direction. If the left wants to, for example, legalize gay marriage, the right will want to push against gay marriage. You get the point. The right has become very reactionary in the past couple of years, in particular, especially in the United States. So much so that the average right-wing voter does hold a lot of, we won't call it racist, because it's not necessarily racist. We'll call it ethno-interest-based views. We see this in the Manosphere too. The Manosphere is a reactionary response to the feminist movement. The Manosphere and Red Pill ideology is literally a direct mirror. Imagine feminism but on the polar opposite of the spectrum. That's the Red Pill and Manosphere ideologies. A lot of the people who are in these ideologies are insufferable frat bros who think that drinking beer and getting drunk and just going around having mindless sex with women is the way to go. These people only work out with cross chains on. They work out with their golden cross chains they probably bought from Walmart for $5 because they think it looks cool. And they think it's so based. They then go on to social media where they then post pictures. Look at me, my big muscles, my cross chain. I'm so based. When in reality, they probably are bigger sinners than the average Redditor. Now that might be a bit of a stretch, but you get my point. The Manosphere ideology is very damaging. They have a toxic view towards marriage, with a lot of them simply skipping out on marriage. And if we want to further our ideology on the right, and if we want to ever raise a conservative age, you need to be having lots of children with your wife. You need to be finding the right woman who's willing to have lots of children, as many children as she can bear, Because ultimately, that is going to be the only way we save this country, is if we raise a generation of traditional, well-groomed, right-wing young men. But instead, men going their own way and Andrew Tate have taught men that they should just be man whores and not focus on finding a wife. There's a reason why Andrew Tate is single. There's a reason why the guy has not been married in his life. And all I'm going to say is he does not understand the struggles of the working class like some people think he does. I have seen people think he does, by the way, before you come at me in the comment section. Andrew Tate is a Washington, D.C. born. Yes, he was born in D.C. He was born to a Jewish family who had positions in the government of Israel. He was born to an elitist family who holds wealthy influence, and he lived he lived a life of relative comfort. So when you hear his ideology about what color is your Bugatti, well, we know exactly where you got that money from, Andrew, and it wasn't from your own sheer will. It wasn't from your businesses that you've created as a startup when you were in your 20s. No, no, no. It was because of daddy's money. We all know it's true. Tate grew up wealthy. Sure, he lives in the United Kingdom now, but he grifted off of his father's success and now is currently with a lot of money and is spouting rhetoric on the internet that, quite frankly, is damaging our young men. Our young men are becoming literally right-wing versions of feminists. This is not a healthy ideology to maintain. You cannot have a right that wants to avoid marriage and a left that wants to avoid marriage for two completely different reasons, because ultimately the result will be the same. Nobody will have families. Nobody will want to be traditional and have a traditional relationship with each other. And nobody will want to have kids. And as a result, everybody will continue to be materialistic and hedonistic and continue to indulge in their own self-desires, in particular with the Manosphere, narcissism and self-absorption. There's a reason these people spend so much time staring at themselves in the mirror. Trust me. There's a big reason for that. And again, I know this may come off as me sounding jealous. I'm not. This is not me inherently being against working out or getting strong or whatever. That is a good thing. And more people should do it. I choose not to because, as I've said, I don't like the crowd of people. I think a lot of them are just self-absorbed assholes who are only doing it for the glamour. They're only doing it so they can post pictures of themselves on social media to get likes. That's literally the only reason I think most people even go to the gym. More people do that and post these videos, inspirational, literally, it's driving me nuts. Everything is for social media attention, and everything is just for attention in general. How hard is it to have somebody who is legit? Who isn't just trying to put on a fake glamour show for everybody on, for everybody on Instagram or Twitter? Is it that hard? I don't think it is. How does all of this tie into the Red Pill and Manosphere ideologies? Well, to conclude, if you've skipped to the end of the video, the reasons why this ideology is dangerous and is corrupting our young men is because A, it's literally just a right-wing version of feminism. B, it's teaching men to be narcissistic, self-absorbed, and self-indulgent. Sure, it tells you to avoid the vile things like pornography, which is a good thing. However, it still teaches them to be sexual infidels and to go around sleeping with as many women as possible. And this is coming from a Muslim, where it is haram to do so unless she is your wife. But Muslims don't even know their own religion, I guess. Oh, and by the way, did I mention, people like Sneeko. Sneeko is one of the biggest cucks in the history of the internet, and if you know what I'm talking about, you know. Anyone who takes that guy seriously needs to have a mental health evaluation at a psych ward ASAP. Because anyone who takes that guy seriously has problems. I do not like the red pill ideology, as you can tell. And I'm not talking about seeing the world for what it is, knowing that everything is a lie. I'm not talking about that version of the red pill. I'm talking about the Jim Bro Macho Man red pill. The sort of, you know, yeah, men need to go their own way and work out only for the glamour and, you know, sleep around. Like, if that's the case, if that's what being red pilled is, then by God, no wonder the Republican Party and the right wing is losing elections in America. The average person does not want to hear about how women are the root of all evil and need to have their rights stripped away. The average person wants to hear solutions to their economic problems. They want to hear influencers and pundits who talk about the cost of living, things like grocery prices, inflation, gas prices, a poor economy, a bad job market. But no, instead we get people talking about how if you don't lift weights every single day, there's no excuse if you don't work out. If you don't work out, you're a beta male. That's not what the average person wants to hear. And I'm sorry, but if you can't, if your brain is so small that you can't accept the fact that other people may not, there are a lot of people who don't get into going to the gym, particularly because gyms are just a toxic atmosphere. Whether it's female gym influencers trying to catch you being a pervert, quote unquote, or male influencers recording videos to upload to their Instagram for the glamour and the likes, it's all the same. Everything is all the same. And I notice it on both the left and the right. The left and the right aren't so different. They're just different in what they believe in, but their tactics are very, very similar. So, I urge any young man who is maybe subscribing to that ideology or is considering it, don't. Subscribe to the idea of traditional families and strong men while also respecting genders for what they are. Respecting men for what they do and respecting women for what they do, because ultimately we do have different roles. But that doesn't mean that you need to go out and hate the other. One or the other. You can respect women and still think about traditional gender roles. Yes, that is possible. I know. I just blew every gym bro's head off right there. They are probably very surprised. It is possible to have self-respect. It is possible to work out and not be a self-absorbed douchebag. This has been North Star State Politics on the Manosphere and Red Pill Ideologies. Signing off.